All right, so today we're going to be identifying functions from tables, graphs, and mapping diagrams. A function assigns exactly one output to every input. So input is x and output's y. The value that is put into the function is in the input, it results in the output, x and y. So basically, if there's more than one input, then it's wrong. So more than one input, x, means it's not a function. So the first example is a function because one output goes to 2, 3 to 8, 7 to 6. That's a function. So example 3 is, example B is not a function because you see how this input, there's 2 of them. And I would like to make a table of x, y, 0, 2, 2, 1, 4, 5. Since there's x's that both equal 2, then it's not a function. Now, if I had an x, y, 1, 4, 5, and this is 0, 2, 2, that's okay. You can have your outputs be the same number. If your outputs are the same number, that's fine. Your inputs, your x's, cannot be the same number. All right, determine your term. Determine if it's a function or not. Yes, no. Because again, you can have your outputs be the same. You just can't have your inputs be the same. All right, and you would write that as a sentence. All right, determine whether each relationship is a function. So it's the same thing as a mapping is a table. So it's the same idea. This is a function because the inputs are all different. The outputs do have 2 of the same numbers of 15, but that doesn't matter. It's still a function. Okay, B is not a function because they have 2 inputs that are the same. Okay, so now you try one. Yes. And no. And I need to check on this one because, and no, because the inputs are all the same. And these, they might equal the same thing, but that can still be a function. And so 7 is a function and no, and 8 is not because the inputs, there's 2 inputs that are the same. Okay, so now identifying functions from a graph. So when you do functions from a graph, you can actually do a line test, and I'll explain what that means. Or you can put the points into a graph or into a table. So you have a graph here, and you have all these points. And what I'd like to do is called a vertical, if I could write it, vertical line test. And what that means is you draw lines down the graph. Okay, and my pad's not working very well. And so basically you check each point. So this is the first point, and I'll zoom it in. So that's the first point. There's nothing above it or below it, so that's a function. But the next point is you have 2 lines directly above it. So if I drew a vertical line through it, it touches, and that's not good. That means it's not a function. Okay, and then there's another one right here. I can do it. So if you would put it into a table, that means you would have multiple x's that are the same. Okay, and you can't do it because x's are the same thing as inputs, and y are outputs. So if you have a table, you would have two x's, meaning two different y's. Okay, so that's the reason why it's not correct. Okay, tell the graph if the relationship between the heights and the weights of the members of the basketball team are a function. Well, it does not pass the vertical line test because these are on top of each other. You have multiple x's equal the same thing. All right, that's it. And we'll talk more about this, and we'll practice more on Friday. It's just a quick lesson over functions.